But it's not something I want to discuss on the podcast.
Nor I.
Okay, which is why I'm going to edit out the previous statement.
All right.
I'm Tom Dickinson.
And I'm Louis Midas.
And this is The Cloister Room, a podcast about Doctor Who and other things. How did you like the Caves of Androzani?
I thought it was a pretty good episode, although it had its flaws, though there weren't many. Most of my complaints are not about the story, but just about the costumes.
You weren't a fan of the costumes?
Not really. Thought they were kind of cheesy, and I mean the monster thing was kind of lame looking.
You should know that if you say anything negative about this episode, you're likely to be lynched.
I suspected as much. I did like the story, I just didn't like the costumes. I don't know, that's not really...
I don't think you're being entirely unfair on the costumes. Some of them are kind of lame.
Yeah, I especially
thought the president's costume was stupid looking.
Yeah.
But I like the mask thing that Shara's Jack has.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. A little bit S&M, but kind of cool. Just saying.
Well, that may have been intentional. I don't know.
But yeah, I don't know. I feel like, especially, I get just in the Fifth Doctor era in particular, it seems like the monsters in particular just didn't really look very good. I feel like they were trying to achieve something that they couldn't quite do. I mean, I noticed that in the Visitation as well. The whatever reptile guys or whatever, I don't even remember what they were, but they looked kind of cheesy. And I think that's not really anyone's fault. I think that's just like the limitations that they had. But I just feel like that's kind of a thing. I don't know. I feel like I would have preferred they try to do stories like, I don't know, like Human Nature, that sort of thing, where like they don't really have to rely on these costumes and stuff to make it work or whatever.
Well, the thing is, this story doesn't really need the monster.
That's true.
I mean, the monster that's in this story, I feel like the story would work just as well if that was completely just cut out of the script.
Yeah.
Because it is very much a story that relies on, humanoid figures that just sort of interact in certain ways. And, I mean, they have the androids. The androids are fine.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got these goofy sort of face thingies, but, I mean, there's nothing objectionable about that costume, in my opinion.
Right, no, me neither.
And so I feel like the story maybe should have focused more on that and not even bothered to bring in this strange creature.
Yeah. Yeah, in retrospect, it was a little bit superfluous.
Other than the costumes, I think and the monster as well, I think a lot of the design elements were pretty well done. Like, I think the sets were nice. The lighting and the fog and everything was atmospheric and stuff. And
yeah.
They made good use of a quarry.
Yes, they did. But yeah, I don't know. What else? Perry's accent was really bad. Perry's
accent was pretty terrible. I especially noticed it in the first episode.
Yeah. It's like, Doctor, some gloss.
Exactly. I think Perry as a character is a little bit ill-conceived. Like, I'm not a huge fan of Perry.
Yeah.
She's alright, but she just seems to be cleavage and little else.
Yeah.
That seems to be her character.
I did notice that, yeah. But yes, I would agree with that. This is the first first time we've covered an episode with a regeneration in it.
Well, unless you count the War Games.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
He's not seen to regenerate on screen, and in fact, some people, in order to preserve certain continuity things, claim that the Second Doctor doesn't immediately regenerate, but that the Time Lords keep him around for a while and send him on missions. The reasons why that makes continuity sense, I don't suppose I'll get into right now, but... So I guess this is the first real regeneration that we watch as it happens.
Yeah, We'll see.
Or that we have watched in our...
Right.
discussions, yeah.
And actually comparing it to other regenerations, it was kind of, I don't know, I mean, I know that I watched at one point the Fourth Doctor regenerating into the Fifth, but I don't really remember it. But other than that, I don't think I've really seen any of the classic Doctors regenerate. Beyond, I don't seem to recall Sixth into Seventh, nor any of the other ones. Although I did watch the TV movie where the Seventh regenerated into the Eighth, but that was a very nice one, actually.
Yeah, I like that regeneration.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
But the regeneration was different every time they did it in the classic series, whereas in the current series, it was Russell T Davies, his idea that every regeneration should look pretty much exactly the same, so that you know it's the same exact process. Like, they sort of have the light coming out of their head and everything.
That makes sense.
But, you know, like in this regeneration, he has hallucinations of his companions and also of the Master.
Yeah.
Whereas in I believe in Legopolis, he also has hallucinations of his companions.
I honestly don't remember it very much at all.
And these were specially filmed cameo appearances. They weren't, like, repurposed from older material. So
that's interesting. I don't know if I really like the Sixth Doctor's first words. He seems like kind of a jerk.
Well, I guess I'd probably agree with you.
I don't know. I guess I have mixed feelings, because I feel that's different, and I kind of like the fact that it's different. But I don't know. The
Sixth Doctor, a lot of people don't like him very much, and he was not very well liked at the time, I don't think. If in the following story, The Twin Dilemma, which is the Sixth Doctor's first story, he seems to be suffering from a pretty bad case of mania, like regeneration mania. He kind of goes insane. He tries to strangle Perry.
Oh. Okay.
A lot of people say is that the best Sixth Doctor stuff is not his televised stuff, but the audio dramas he's done over the past 10 years. And I'd actually kind of agree with that. But I don't think he makes a very good first impression here.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of want to like him, but I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I think Colin Baker and, I guess, the producers had a pretty well thought out idea that the Sixth Doctor would start off as a really unlikable, well, not unlikable, but difficult figure to like, and he would soften over the course of years. And there's a little bit of that in the very brief time that he was the Doctor, but they never really got a chance to take that to the extreme they wanted to.
Oh, well, that's almost unfortunate.
Yeah, which is why it's kind of nice that the audio dramas do take his character in that direction. So, maybe we'll have to listen to one of them eventually.
Yeah, that might be fun.
But yeah, I like the whole swirling vortex of companions thing that accompanies the regeneration. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Especially the Master's evil cackle.
Yes. But yeah, overall I really liked the story. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I liked it, but I think it's overrated.
Yeah, I could see that. What's it ranked?
I mean, in the Doctor Who magazine poll, it was ranked the best Doctor Who story of all time.
Okay.
And I'd say, I don't even think this is my favorite story that we've watched for this podcast. I'd say I enjoyed the War Games more. I enjoyed Genesis of the Daleks more. Probably I also enjoyed Inferno more.
Yeah.
It might just be down to personal preference.
I don't know. Yeah. I would say that some of the other things we've watched I did enjoy probably a little bit more. I don't know. I really like the Fifth Doctor.
Oh, I like him a lot.
I really want to see more of his stuff, because I really liked him in The Visitation, which I recently watched. But yeah, I like the Fifth Doctor. It's kind of, It's funny in Time Crash where the 10th Doctor's talking about, like, running around and stuff, and the 5th Doctor really does do a lot of running.
Yeah.
And so I kind of like that. Feels a little bit faster paced, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I do think this story was really well paced.
Yeah.
That is one thing the story definitely does have going for it. And another really interesting thing about this story is that the Doctor doesn't really have any sort of mission, you might say. He's not trying to do anything except for rescue himself and Perry from this situation they've stumbled into.
That's true.
Whereas in almost every story, the Doctor stumbles into these situations and he finds someone and says, "You're the bad guy, I'm going to help everyone else defeat you." Whereas in this, he's just trying to get out of this pretty petty squabble that they've found themselves in. So,
that's true.
And he ends up giving his own life, I guess you might say, or his own form to rescue Perry, which is kind of similar to how the 10th Doctor went out.
Oh yeah, very true.
He absorbs this the radiation to save Wilf.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I forgot about that. That's what actually triggers regeneration, because that happens like 10 minutes before the actual regeneration happens.
Right.
It's kind of a disconnect in my mind. Yeah.
And he spends all that time holding it back.
Yeah, that is pretty similar. Pretty much all I can think of to say.
Yeah, there's not much else. I mean, the story does have a few pretty cool moments. Like, I like the moment in the second episode when the gun runners start squabbling and one of them is holding the other down on top of a cliff, and then he's sort of being excessively violent. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, it's actually kind of funny because it seems like I don't really know why I thought this, but I kind of figured the new series was more, I guess, violent than the classic, but there's a lot of violence in the classic series as well.
Yeah, it's also balanced out by a lot more talky stuff.
That's true.
Like in this, there is the violence. In fact, almost everyone in this story dies.
True.
But there's also a lot of political machination. There's all sorts of military and business interests that are coming into play.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's sort of it's a very it reminds me a little bit of Dune, actually. I know you've not read Dune, but you've seen the sci-fi miniseries, right?
Right.
So, like, I mean, there's this substance, the Spectrox, that, like, it extends life and brings good health, which is like the spice from Dune, and everyone wants it, and who has it, and who can sell it at a higher price, and who has control of it, and stuff like that.
Yeah. I hadn't thought of it that way, but yeah.
So yeah, I sort of see this as Dune mixed up with Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah, I definitely got that sort of vibe. The Phantom of the Opera vibe, at least. Yeah, what are we doing next week?
Well, next week is the 6th Doctor, obviously.
Right.
Following the 5th.
Would make sense.
There was not very much consensus over which 6th Doctor story it would be, but Attack of the Cybermen ended up coming out on top.
Okay.
You've not seen that, have you?
No, I haven't.
Nor I.
Well, wow, really?
So this will be the first one we've watched that I haven't seen before.
Wow.
I haven't heard very good things about it.
Okay.
I've heard it's too continuity heavy.
Huh.
I don't know, but it might be. I was thinking it might be interesting to watch a story that wasn't always seen as very good.
Yeah.
Because that gives a lot of ground for discussion.
It does.
And a lot of the stories in the 6th Doctor era are known as much for their problems as for their triumphs. If not considerably more.
Huh, that's interesting.
And the same is true from a lot of people's perspective about the 7th Doctor.
Huh.
And speaking of which, we do, of course, need suggestions and votes and whatnot for the 7th Doctor story we're going to be watching.
Ah, yes.
And who knows what that'll be.
Yeah. I haven't really seen much of the 7th Doctor, but I kind of like him.
What have you seen by the 6th Doctor, just to back up?
The 6th Doctor, I saw a Dalek story. I don't know what it was called.
Yes. Revelation of the Daleks.
Okay.
That is the one. It is difficult to keep Revelation and Resurrection and Remembrance straight, but there it is. Revelation of the Daleks.
Okay.
Yeah, that's an okay story.
Yeah. I've seen... I don't remember what the name of the other Sixth Doctor episode... or, story I saw was... hang on. Oh, it was with the Rani.
Oh, Mark of the Rani.
There it is. Yeah, that's the one.
Another one I've not seen, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I haven't seen that much of the Sixth Doctor or the Seventh Doctor, to be perfectly honest, so I wouldn't be surprised if the Seventh Doctor story that got picked was another one that I've not seen. But anyway, you were saying about the Seventh Doctor.
Yeah, what was I saying about the Seventh Doctor? I kind of like him.
You know, some people don't. I do. I like the Seventh Doctor. That story, the Dalek story for the Seventh Doctor, I believe that is Remembrance of the Daleks.
Yes, and I have seen that.
And I think that's a fantastic story.
Yeah, I really liked that one.
It's among the classic series, I feel like it's the most modern seeming story that I've ever seen. It feels it's from the 80s, but it feels like it's from the 90s. I guess. I don't know.
Wow.
But
yeah, no, I would agree with that.
Yeah, there's a good chance that's going to be the one people like, or Ghostlight, which is a bizarre story.
I actually watched that recently.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, like several weeks ago. I don't know.
It's very strange.
It was, yeah.
But anyhow, we'll leave that if it ends up being picked. So,
are you ever concerned that by us discussing the other Doctor stories, people are more inclined to pick those because they're like, oh yeah, that one. Whereas if we hadn't mentioned any, they wouldn't. If you say oh, I bet this is the one they're gonna pick, then do you think that influences people's decisions?
No, not at all. Doctor Who fans are very opinionated and they know what they want. I mean, okay. I have no influence over that. How much of Buffy the Vampire Slayer have you seen?
I have seen all of the first 3 seasons, and I am some number of episodes into season 4.
Now, are you actively watching it, or have you basically stopped?
I haven't really been... it's been a year.
Okay.
But I do want to. It's not that I have stopped and I'm not going to watch any more ever again. I do want to watch more. I just don't. I don't know. I don't know why I'm avoiding it, but I am for some reason.
Okay. Well, Buffy is something that probably has to be discussed in some form on this podcast eventually, and I thought now was the time. And the reason I say that is because I have this blog called The Wheatening, which is it's ostensibly presented by the Cloister Room, which the reason I'm not entirely sure why I decided to refer to it that way, mostly because I knew that the Cloister Room had some amount of audience, and I just sort of wanted to piggyback on that.
Hey, that works. No shame in that.
But I ended up starting the blog during a period when I wasn't updating the Cloister Room, before the regeneration of the Cloister Room.
Aha, yes.
So yeah, for those who happen to be listening to this and don't know what I'm talking about, it's a blog I do at thewheatening.blogspot.com, in which I attempt to watch all of Joss Whedon's television shows and things in chronological order. And I'm currently, at the end of Buffy Season 2. So, what do you think of Buffy in general as a show?
I do enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
I like a lot of the characters, and I think the writing is really well done. I almost want to say that part of the reason I stopped watching was because it sort of shifted from high school to college, and that was kind of I feel it kind of went a little bit downhill at that point.
Whenever a show makes a shift like that, it's going to be kind of awkward.
Yeah, but I mean, I do really enjoy the characters, and I think that they're pretty cool.
Well, if you stick with it, I think the 4th season ends up... the first couple episodes of the 4th season are not among my favorite, but I do really like the 4th season in general. I think it gets better as the season goes on.
Okay.
Although some would disagree with me. What did you think about the first season?
The first season I did not really enjoy all that much. I thought it was a bit too Monster of the Week sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
There was one with if I'm recalling correctly, some kind of killer robot.
Yeah.
No, it was a killer robot that was possessed by the devil or something. Am I remembering this right?
Well, it was a demon who had been sealed inside of a book, and if you read the book, then it gets released, but the book was scanned into a computer.
Oh, yeah.
So the demon was released into the computer. and ended up building a robot body for itself.
Yeah. That was a bit silly, I thought.
Yeah, that's incredibly silly. And that episode featured a lot of misunderstandings of computers, I think.
Yeah. I think that might have been what bothered me the most.
That would make sense.
But after the first season, I thought it got a lot better. In terms of... I think that particularly the villain of the latter half of season 2 is really good.
Yeah, and I wouldn't want to spoil that for anyone who hasn't watched Buffy.
Right, nor would I.
But, yeah, I feel like the first season had its charms. It just didn't have, like, all the right elements in the right order. Right. They weren't, like, it didn't all come together until season 2.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And, yeah, the overall plot arc of season 1 isn't really... There's not much to it.
Yeah.
Whereas in season 2, there's more to it.
Mm-hmm.
But have you watched any of Angel?
I have watched at least the first episode of Angel. I don't remember if I watched the second.
And what did you think of what you watched of it?
I really liked it.
Oh, really?
I liked it quite possibly more than Buffy.
Huh. I was not a huge fan of Angel during its first season. In fact, I liked the first season of Angel less than I liked the first season of Buffy.
Oh, wow.
But I ended up becoming a bigger fan of Angel than of Buffy by the end of the shows, respectively.
Yeah, I thought that the first episode was really well done. I liked a lot of the dialogue, if I'm recalling it correctly. I don't know. I can't really think of specific examples. I just remember that I liked it.
And this was also, you watched it about a year ago, right?
Yeah. Additionally, I wanted to sort of watch them like interlaced or whatever, where they would match up between Buffy and Angel, and so I think that may have been too much for me because I wanted to do that, but at the same time, I felt for some reason like that was too much of a commitment or something. I'm not sure. But I think that might have been one of the reasons why I just altogether stopped.
Well, in my opinion, the best way to view it is to maybe watch 3 or 4 episodes of Buffy and then 3 or 4 episodes of Angel, and not to like go 1, because there aren't very many crossovers between the two. There are a few, but
okay.
I think there's like 3 or 4 crossovers in the first season, and then maybe 1 or 2 in the second season, and as it goes on, there are fewer and fewer.
Huh.
The shows are mostly independent and can be watched independently of one another.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind.
You know what? No, I've said the contact info for the past 2 weeks. You say the contact info.
All right. Okay, so if you want to get a hold of us, you can leave a comment on our website, thecloisterroom.com. That's right?
That is the website.
Okay, good. I wasn't just making that up. Or you could email us at thecloisterroom@gmail.com. We have a Twitter account, The Cloister Room. I've got a personal Twitter account, Mila's Belly.
And mine is T. Dickinson.
Yep. And I think that's pretty much it.
That's all that I know of.
Yeah. I've previously discussed carrier pigeon, but no one sent me any carrier pigeons, so I think that's not ever gonna happen.
Oh, you haven't gotten any?
No, man. And I thought, carrier pigeons were like a popular means of communication. I'm just out of it, man. I don't know, I'm out of the loop. The communication loop. Popular communication loop.
Yeah, apparently.
I wish you could still do telegrams. You can't do those anymore.
You can't do telegrams?
No, and they just... See, the thing is, apparently you could still do them until very recently. Like, 3 years ago or something.
Well, like, who decided you can't do them anymore?
I don't know. It's you know what? It's not fair. If I'd have known...
Whose call is that to make?
I don't know.
Like, who forbade you from doing telegrams?
I don't know. There must be some sort of... Maybe the FCC? Do they do that?
Probably. It's probably them.
Those FCC. Those villains. The villains at the FCC. Anyway. Okay.
So that ends this episode of The Cloister Room.
And not a moment too soon.
All right. I have been Tom Dickinson.
And I've been Lewis Midas.
Goodbye.
Adios.